Hi. So, one of the things I like to do at the end of a week is have a bit of a reflection on the teaching that I've done. And I've had three particularly interesting conversations with my students this week, and I just thought I'd share them. One was a conversation that I had with a student that finished about an hour ago. And I was talking about how I'm in the process of learning some new technology so that I can go online and create some online products for students that can't necessarily come and see me live, and also homework for kids and whatever else. And we were discussing Microsoft and Google, and he was saying, I think you should go with Google Classroom. And, Google has way more capabilities than Microsoft and blah, 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 blah. And this is a student that I was just struggling with getting to spell four-letter words. And here we were having a conversation where he was able to instantly tap into what I was talking about to do with creating online programs. This is a student in year 7 who, quite possibly gets overlooked for a lot of things. He comes to see me because he needs extra help. He has learning difficulties, but his skill is in technology. And I said to him, you know what, in the future, I think you should actually come and work with me so that you can help me do these videos and things that I'm going to be creating in the future. And his mum's like, oh, careful, he's going to hold you to that. But the thing is, these kids are great. My students that I work with are all ready to be diagnosed with learning difficulties, or they already have been. Some of those learning difficulties are things like dyslexia and dysgraphia. And they walk around mistakenly thinking that they're dumb. The conversation I just had with this boy was so far from dumb. In fact, it's probably the best conversation I've had with what my plans are for the future um, over the last few weeks. No other person has been able to tap into it quite quickly. Now, that is an employee that I want. I cannot be the only one. Speaking of such, I didn't plan a segue there, but actually it worked. Um, Talking to some of my students that are having testing for dyslexia and so forth at DSF over the next few weeks, I said, hang on, I want to show you a video that some schools are watching at the moment. It's from BTN, Behind the News on ABC. And it's a great little episode. It's about 5 minutes long. I recommend that you show it to your classroom, or you show it to your students or to your children or whoever you are that has something to do with students or kids. It's called Dyslexia Spies, and it's how one of the main spy headquarters in the UK, they look out for kids that have no, not for kids, for adults that have dyslexia, because they know that they are able to look at the big picture. They've got the ability to see patterns in things that other people don't have, because they don't have that neurological difference, because they just function what we think is normal. Well, I'm sorry, someone that's able to function with these amazing pattern forming ways, and listen to me, I'm struggling with my words and I don't have dyslexia. I'm just, yeah, you know what I'm doing. It's okay. Having my coffee. This is a relaxed discussion. Someone who can see patterns in things, who's someone who can see the big picture, is another person that an employee, that an employer wants to employ. We need to be spreading the bonuses and the brilliant things of children with learning difficulties. And we need to be telling the world now, so that our children who are adults tomorrow step into an easier employment stream. Now, as also happens, and this is a bit of a sad story, or it's a big sad story, and it just tells you some of the situations that happen for my kids, and not just kids with learning difficulties, but particularly kids with learning difficulties. So it's nap plan this week, and I was talking to one of my students and his mum um, about how things are a bit tough at school at the moment. He's like, yeah, they're really hard. And he almost didn't want to come to our session this week. And I went, oh, because of NAPLAN? He went, yeah, that's it, but mostly being bullied. So we talked about it when we came up into class, and just sort of analysed things a little bit more. Now, this is a kid who's having to have tutoring extra during the week because he struggles with his literacy. Um, and NAPLAN is now, of course, online. So you have to type all of your answers. Now, this strikes a bit of a tough situation for some of the kids that I work with, because the process of finding the letters that you need to put in a word on the keyboard is really, really tough. So, number one, that slows them down. We have voice to text facilities and technological capabilities now. Our kids should be able to access these things, and I hope that NAPLANs of the future they are able to. But why the heck it hasn't been sorted out now, I don't know. But that's not the sad conversation. The sad conversation is that he's had an injury recently to his arm. And he said, I'm getting really, really sore because and it was a very severe injury. He nearly needed surgery, by the way. I'm getting sore because I'm having to type and I'm trying to think of the words and I'm experiencing pain and I'm really not getting much done. And I said, so how can the teacher help you? And he said, well, I don't know. We just have to stick on the headphones and get going. And he said, I'm not really getting anything done at all. He has done maybe one sentence because of his pain and also because of his learning difficulties. And he said it's got even worse because of the bullying. And I said, tell me more about this bullying. And he said, well, these kids have been bullying me for 4 years. Now, this is a gentle, sweet kid. And this is a kid that immediately you meet him and you want to wrap him up in your arms and give him a big hug. And I'm fortunate that generally they're with their parents, so I can do that. But I don't know anyone that would meet this child that wouldn't want to give them a big hug. And he told me that the bullies this week knew that he was suffering with the pain in his arm with NAPLAN and purposely injured the broken bone that he has. I took me all that I could to not burst into tears. I sort of tried to remain strong, and his little eyes are glazing up and all this sort of thing. Now, I don't know how the bullying started 4 years ago, but an element has to be included in that bullying of him being a bit slower at times in class. And it breaks my heart and baffles me that we don't do as much as we possibly can to help these kids get through school a little bit easier. Because students with learning difficulties suffer so many emotional conditions such as depression, anxiety, or they turn to other sorts of ways of dealing with anxiety and depression. Their self-worth can be really, really low if they're not resilient. And mums and dads and teachers, it's our job to fill these kids with as many moments of self-esteem boosting opportunities as we can. The child that appears cocky when you're talking to them one on one is very often not a cocky child once they're at school and they're faced with bullies or an embarrassing situation or having to read out loud. So please don't worry about boosting them too much. Um, we have to do all that we can, and that includes bringing into play speech to text technology and text to speech technology. If your child's good with a C pen, go and grab a C pen. They're $250 each, so grabbing is not super easy, but they are often sold on secondhand pages for a little bit cheaper than $250, $300. But if they're good with a C pen, they're fantastic. But if not, we've all of our computers these days and our phones and our iPads and tablets can do text to speech and speech to text. Schools, we need to let these things be used. They are not benefiting a child above and beyond the other students. The children that need these technologies are already behind. So give them a hand to catch up a little bit. If a child can't walk properly, we give them a set of crutches or a wheelchair to help them out so it evens the playing field a little bit. That's what text to speech and speech to text and iPads and computers and all this fantastic technology that's in classrooms does. It evens the playing field. It doesn't mean that kids forget how to write if you're clever with how you work on this. It doesn't mean it's easier for them because these kids have to learn how to use this technology. It doesn't mean so many of the really silly excuses I've heard schools and teachers, and I'm sorry, parents sometimes come up with to not let their children use this technology. The world is such that technology is here to stay now. Yes, you need to be super duper cautious of security for them and privacy for them. But we know how to do this. If you don't know how to do it, go to YouTube right now and Google, how can I make sure my teenager's safe or my child is safe online? And you'll learn like that from experts of how to do it. There's so many fantastic things available. Security and privacy are one thing. Children not knowing how to write because all they know is how to use a keyboard is another thing that's not good. But these kids not having an even learning field because of those other two features, it's not fair. We give kids with walking disabilities ramps, wheelchairs, crutches. We've got to give these other things to our students as well. And for goodness sakes, we need to stop our, our children bullying other children. And I'm sorry, I hear way too many students of mine that are bullied because of their inability to function in a classroom. It's got to stop, has to stop. If you hear of your child bullying another child, please step in, step up, and step with a very strong footprint. I'm sorry, I'm lost for words. I don't even know what to say. My passion is so high about this. So, yeah, Rebecca's got on her soapbox yet again. But the thing is, this is something I see several times a week. All of these topics that I've just discussed today. And I'm sure as I want to do a reflection on a regular basis, this isn't going to be the last time I talk about it. Okay. Love you all. Love my students. Wish I could have the time. I didn't need to sleep. Wish I could clone myself and work with more kids and help more kids. But hopefully, doing things like these vlogs will help parents to be more armed and teachers to be more armed with how to deal with our great, great kids that deserve to be fantastic adults. Okay. Bye. Cheers. Enjoy your weekend. See you soon.